Shalom, my friends. I'm alive and well. I've gotten a lot of emails, people asking me about how I fared during the storm, and also I know I had prayers of many, in fact hundreds of people praying and fasting. I want you to know that I truly appreciate that, because I know it made a large difference. This was a big storm. It was hairy. My power got knocked out for 3 days. And there are people around me now that still don't have power. Just the township I'm in right now at this recording, there are still 4,300 people that don't have power. My power came back last night, and it's a great relief. But I fared well. You know, I have a gas stove, so I was able to cook. I was even able to produce heat for myself, because it did get cold at night. I have running water. I suffered really in no way, shape, or form. Elohim's beracha was upon my beit, upon my house. And like I said, it was a devastating storm, and I appreciate your prayers and your fasting. It made a difference. I'm sure of that. So I had quite a time of it. I have a message from the Scriptures concerning this. I'll share that with you at the end of this video. Right now, let me show you a couple of personal things.
Here's a picture of the globe, showing how large this storm was. I mean, here's the tip of Florida, and I imagine up around here somewhere is Maine. New Jersey is probably around here, and this thing is sweeping. It's pretty much the size of the coastline of the United States. The storm came up this way and said, "Oh, here's Alan's house," and made a hard left-hand turn. Honestly, I'm like right about there, central New Jersey, just maybe 20 miles from New York City. And the storm came, it was heading right at central Jersey, and then the top half seemed to break off and scatter up this way, and a new eye formed and came in just below me, which I think may have been worse than actually having the eye come right at me, because the strongest winds are on the top side of this thing as it spins around that way. But I'm right here in central New Jersey, and you can see the storm. It came right at us. We had 70, 80, 90 mile an hour gusts. It was pretty hairy. I was without power for 3 days and nights, and my schedule this week had me up mostly during the nights. I was up all night, going to bed maybe around 4 o'clock in the morning. And those lights you see are the candles. Candlelight is, it's not much. I mean, it's just dim enough for you to trip over a chair. I don't know how people lived with candlelight, man, but when you think about it, all of history, no one had electricity until 120 years ago. If you got hungry, you had to go kill something to eat. I mean, it really makes you think. I spent hours, 3 nights in a row, just sitting here with candlelight, unable to do much, but I had a lot of long, wonderful conversations with Elohim, with Abba, and it was good. I did spend some time recording. This is a shot in my little vocal booth. This light up here is a flashlight pointed at the Hallelujah Scriptures. This here is my recorder, my Zoom H2N recorder, wonderful recorder. And it's battery operated, and it holds 2 gigabytes. So I got quite a few hours of recording, working on the Hallelujah Scriptures audio project. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about there, check out my Hallelujah Scriptures playlist on my YouTube page, in the list on the right-hand side of all my playlists. I spent some time doing that, and it's probably sitting there right around Devarim, that's Deuteronomy Chapter 8, which is the message that was delivered to me during this storm, and I'm going to share that with you at the end of this video. Here, it shows you how strong those winds are. I mean, look at the root system of this tree. That thing was just lifted up, bricks and roots together. This is a picture. This kind of made me look twice. A trampoline was lifted up and pinned itself in the electrical wires. Now, this is personal. This is on my street. There was a fire, a huge fire across the street, and I couldn't go to see what it was because it was during the heavy winds. But you can see this cable here, all fried out on the end. This is the other end over in that direction, goes all the way up the telephone pole to the transformer. But it fried here, and the wire went across the road. And here's the other end of the wire that went across the street. But that wire dropped onto the macadam and boiled the macadam. Look at the destruction of the street. That was from that electrical wire. I mean, man, you were talking about some serious energy being released. Here's a close-up. You can see it boiled the macadam of the road. And here's the other side. Up here you can see the other part of the wire that did some serious damage. But this is how I spent most of my time, reading and working on the Hallelujah Scriptures audio project, or sitting here in my chair in the dark, talking things over with Abba Father.
I haven't seen so much solitude in decades. I've never been without power for 3 days. This is the strongest storm, and we get hurricanes fairly frequently in New Jersey in the fall. But this was, it truly was one of the most unusual. I've seen others that were almost as much, but not since I was a young boy. And I just want you to know, like I said earlier, I appreciate your prayers. I want you to know that all of you who come here to my YouTube channel and watch my videos, I want you to know that every day, the first part of my day, is spent with the Father. And I have a special prayer that I pray over you, over everyone whom the Father sends to watch my videos, view my website, hear my voice. And I'm not going to go into the details about what I pray over you, but I pray a large number of things, of birachot, over you and your loved ones and over your life. And I'm sure that if the Father has sent you to listen to the messages that He has to deliver through me, you will and are seeing His beracha in your life. And that's appreciated. And also, those of you who send contributions to me through the links that are under each video, or the link that's at the top right of my YouTube channel, I want you to know that that means a lot to me. I don't have a steady income. I don't have a job. I never really have. It's been music most of my life, but I've retired from that in the bigger picture, and I don't have a steady income. So those contributions that you send in, it means a lot to me. I know that a lot of times people send me money and they don't have much themselves, but the reward and the beracha comes to you from the Father, and it's a much greater blessing for you than otherwise. But I just want you to know, I don't have a steady income. When you send in those contributions, it helps me pay my rent. It helps me buy food, and I appreciate it. Thank you for doing that. Now, the thing, during this storm, I spent quite a few hours. Fortunately, I was able to do some recording for the Hallelujah Scriptures audio project, and I was in the book of Devarim, that's Deuteronomy, and chapter 8 struck a note with me that seemed quite relative, because I spent 3 days in the darkness. I wouldn't compare it to Yisrael being 40 years in the wilderness, but there are some relative lessons that were delivered to me, and I want to share with you, because I saw a lot of people doing what the Ivrim did out in the desert for 40 years. They did a lot of complaining. And the Father does not like complainers. He reacts strongly to that. And they were in the desert. They were in the wilderness for 40 years, going from Mitzrayim, Egypt, to the Promised Land. 40 years. That was a journey that would normally take 2 weeks to walk. Why were they there 40 years? A lot of people ask questions too when something like this happens. Why does the Father allow things like this? Well, I believe these are judgments that the Father places on various places on the earth. I think that idea is delivered rather strongly in the book of Hanoch. Look at my playlist. I have a whole playlist on, I read the entire book of Hanoch, and that point is made. These are judgments being passed. But also, Yeshua said, as long as you're in this world, you will face trials and tribulations. So I went through, some trials and tribulations these past 3 days. Spent a lot of time with nothing to do but think, pray, talk to Abba. And like I said, you know, I spent quite a few hours. My recorder holds up pretty well and holds 2 gigabytes, so I was able to get quite a bit of recording done. But look at what the Father says to the Ivrim, the Hebrews, about them being in the wilderness for those 40 years. Devarim, Deuteronomy Chapter 8. Guard to do every command which I command you today, that you might live, and shall increase, and go in, and shall possess the land of which Yahweh swore to your fathers. And you shall remember that Yahweh, your Elohim, led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness to humble you, to prove you, to know what is in your heart, whether you guard his commands or not. That's the key. And he humbled you and let you suffer hunger and fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, to make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but by all that comes from the mouth of Yahweh. Your garments did not wear out on you, nor did your foot swell these 40 years. Thus you shall know in your heart that as a man disciplines his son, so Yahweh your Elohim disciplines you. Now also, same chapter, but verses 15 through 19 talks about Yahweh, your Elohim, who led you through that great and awesome wilderness, fiery serpents and scorpions and thirst, where there was no water, who brought water for you out of the flinty rock, who fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers did not know, in order to humble you, and to try you, to do you good in the end. You then shall say in your heart, my power and the strength of my hand have made for me this wealth. But you shall remember Yahweh your Elohim, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, in order to establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers, as it is today. And it shall be, if you by any means forget Yahweh your Elohim, and follow other mighty ones, and serve them, and bow yourself to them, I have warned you this day, that you shall certainly perish. Look at what's being said there, you know. Yahweh puts you through trials and tribulations to humble you, to try you, to see if you love him or not, to see if you will turn to him or if you're going to turn to other mighty ones. Call the electric company on your cell phone. When are we getting power back? Are you going to only think of yourself, and gripe and moan? Geez, I don't have any electricity. I don't have any heat. How long is this going to go on? When's the electric coming back? Why am I going through this? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Rather than, I was sitting here, I was going, man, it's pretty warm in here. I have shelter. I have running water. I have fire and I can cook. I have food. I had everything I needed. There was no suffering. And, I go outside and there's people walking around, they're griping and they're complaining. You know, the Ivrim were complaining a lot. And what were they complaining about? You know, things were different out in the wilderness. They were accustomed to Mitzrayim and, you know, all the conveniences they had of living, you know, let's say in a city area. Same thing was going on here. Things changed. All of a sudden, no one had any power, no electricity, no heat. Refrigerators, you know, food was going bad. You couldn't go get food. Things were different. And everybody's complaining, you know, why can't I watch television? You know, why can't I have my lights on? You know, all the things they're used to. Well, that's what the Ivrim were doing out in the wilderness. You know, why can't we have some meat? What's this manna? You know, what manna means is, what is it? What is it? He had food raining from the sky. And people looked and they said, manna! Like, what is that, you know? Why can't we have meat? Well, they were complaining. He buried them up to their knees in quail. He did everything for them. But all they could think of was, you know, well, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have the other thing, you know, where's our television sets? And they complained, and there were times Yahweh wanted to kill every one of them, and Moshe, talked Yahweh out of it, weeping for them. He loved them so much. And, you know, in the end, none of those who left Mitzrayim entered the Promised Land. None of them. Except, I think, Caleb and Aharon. Moses didn't either, and boy did he weep over that. But none of those who left Mitzrayim went to the Promised Land. Only their children went in. So, you know, the lesson I saw here was in Deuteronomy Chapter 8, where Yahweh says, look, you go through hard times. He wants to see, how are you going to act? Are you going to be a complainer when you really don't need to be complaining? Are you not going to count the blessings that you do have and only complain about the things that you no longer have that you had before? And he wants to see, you know, what kind of a heart you have. And the difference, as I say in one of my songs, is eternity. I believe I recorded that one here on YouTube. You can check it out. Johnny Cash recorded it. And the difference is eternity. Anyway, I'm doing fine. It's over with. I got my power back. I had a good go of it. Actually, in many ways, I enjoyed the experience. And Yahweh, my Elohim, was with me all the time. I lacked for nothing. My beloved Immi, my mother, lives across the street. She's 97 years old. She takes no medication for anything. She's in good health. Her and my oldest Uchta, my sister, takes care of her. We've all been fine. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for fasting. Thank you for making a difference in my life. I hope I'm making one in yours. Shalom.